And finally, third, we do civil discrimination cases as well. So if you ever have an instance where you are discriminated against for being Muslim, we'll give you a way to contact us. We'll give you a way to contact us, inshallah, as well at the end of the presentation. So with that, we will begin on CARE North Carolina presents Standing Strong Against Bullying, Tools on Anti-Bullying and Understanding Your Rights as a Muslim Student. Okay, so why are we here? Bullying hurts too many Muslim students. One statistic we have is over 50% of Muslim youth report feeling unsafe or unwelcome at school. That is half, probably higher, give or take, but at least half, according to our statistics. Together, parents and students can stop bullying and protect our rights. Now, we need to have a grounding definition of bullying, okay? So when we want to speak to our kids, to our students, we can say a lot of things are bullying, but what specifically is bullying in this context? Well, bullying is when someone keeps trying to hurt another person on purpose. Now, it's an imbalance of power. What are some examples of this? Can anyone say some examples of an imbalance of power when it comes to bullying here? An example of bullying, a thing you can think is an example of bullying, a thing that happened to you, happened to your family, happened to your friends. An example of bullying. Can anyone give one? Teacher bullying student. Elaborate. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's say you are a Muslim student in a public school setting and you are in the classroom with your teacher. Your teacher disrespects you, disrespects Islam. Let's say there's a topic being spoken about in history class about Muslims, saying, oh, they're so barbaric. Oh, they're so this, they're so that. Oh, did you know this about Muslims, that about Muslims? That type of environment can be considered bullying. It's an imbalance of power, meaning someone of authority or somebody who has a strength over you is inflicting, causing you harshness, causing you grief, causing you discomfort, causing you pain. Okay? That could be a parent, that could be a teacher, that could be a student, that could be a principal, it could be anybody. Usually it's a fellow student, but it can be a teacher too. So, it can fall into three categories here. We have physical, social, and verbal. Can someone give me an example of a physical type of bullying? What would be a physical type of bullying? Absolutely, throwing things at students. That is entirely an example of a physical type of bullying. What's a social type of bullying? Social type. Well, there's a distinction between social and verbal. Let's start with verbal. What is a verbal type of bullying? Volunteer, voluntold. I will voluntold. Okay. Yes. Yes, cussing to somebody, yes. If somebody speaks foul language to you, that is a type of verbal bullying. Now, can someone think of a type of a social type of bullying, different from verbal, social type of bullying? Yes, spreading false rumors, disincluding somebody from something in the school because you're Muslim, disincluding somebody, telling somebody don't be friends with them, you know, don't interact with them. That's a social type of bullying, you know? Okay, so physical can involve hitting, shoving, spitting, breaking belongings, okay? Physical these days, you know, that's more your classic like 1980s film style bullying. It still happens, without a doubt it happens. We actually at CARE see quite a bit of cases of that. However, it is something that is less common, alhamdulillah, due to the many, many years of efforts in schools to combat physical types of bullying, but it does happen, and if it does happen, that is a serious type of bullying that you should always, always, always act on, and we'll show you exactly how to act on that later, inshallah. Social bullying, exclusion from groups, spreading rumors, public humiliation, and gossiping. So it could be, you know, Imran over there, or, you know, Yusuf over there, or, you know, whatever, like any person that is a Muslim name, a Muslim this, they wear hijab, you know, any situation where you can be identifiably Muslim, they can look at you and say, we don't want them at our table. We don't want them hanging with our friend group. We don't trust them. Their a terrorist. They're different. They're a person that we don't agree with. They should be outcasted from our group and outcasted from our society. And furthermore, that that public humiliation aspect can be when those words get to you personally. I know right now there are several apps out there a lot of people use. They're very popular where people publicly humiliate their peers in their schools. I know a lot of people can think of those apps right now on top of your head. They are very popular with youth these days in K through 12 and college, where you can literally anonymously say, oh, XYZ person in my school, I don't like them because of this reason, and everyone in your school can find that out. These are all examples of social bullying. Okay, verbal bullying. Name calling, teasing, threatening, insulting, and spreading hurtful comments. So pretty self-explanatory. This is probably the most common of all the bullying types. But again, the importance of explaining specifically what these types of bullying are is that we can identify it so that then we can address it. Because if we can't identify it, we can't address it. Okay? So, what's the difference between bullying and a conflict? Well, a conflict is a disagreement between kids that may be solved by talking it out. So let's say, actually better, 2 examples. Anyone here can think of a situation that would be described better as a conflict than as bullying? What would be a conflict instead of bullying? I'm sorry. Yes, so let's say there are 2 kids in a school. They get over disagreement over whatever. You know, somebody said some harsh words, there's disagreement over a school project, what have you, and that is a disagreement between the students, and that is something that became worked out between the students and the principal, the students and teacher, the students and parents, but it is not necessarily bullying per se. Now, where does bullying differ in this? Bullying is when one person uses power to keep hurting another person over and over repeatedly. Sometimes it's only once. That can also be, if it's a severe case of that, it can be qualified as bullying as well. But that key definition, again, over and over is applicable here. But again, the point is that a person uses power to keep hurting someone else in a situation. So, now, where does that fall into CARE? So you may ask, well, CARE, you're a civil rights organization. Why are you so involved with bullying? Well, we're involved with bullying because when it crosses a certain line, that's when CARE needs to get involved, okay? Bullying is bad enough for a child when it impacts their mental state, impacts their sense of being, but when it gets to the point where a school won't address it, where someone's being physically harmed, those are all situations where if that's based off somebody's S&M, you need to contact CARE. Your parents need to contact CARE. Because we can have, those situations require extra protections that a principal or a teacher may not be able to provide you. And this is where it delves into civil rights era. So civil right means the law promised to protect you. You have the right to be safe at school. That is a civil right. You have the right to be safe at school. I'm going to say it again. You have the right to be safe at school. What is safe? Safe from physical harm, verbal harm, and social harm. Which means what? You have the right to not be bullied. If you are bullied, that is against your civil rights, especially if it's physical. And, again, like I said before, you have the right to learn without being bullied. Now, are you being bullied? Do kids call you names? Do they make fun of you for your faith or your clothes? Do you feel scared to go to school? We know a large chunk, about 25%, a quarter of Muslims, K through 12, quarter in public schools, feel scared to go to school purely because of the fact they're Muslim. A quarter. Out of this entire room, anyone who's below the age 18, a quarter of these people are scared to go to school for being Muslim. And that's fine. That is a valid emotion, that's a valid feeling, but it's something that we want to address tonight. Now, do I feel scared to go to school? Obviously, what we discussed right now, but has someone spread rumors or hurt me online? Now, this is the most common we see. Obviously, this verbal style of, and social style of bullying that is online-based. Online-based bullying has exploded in the amounts of cases over the past about 10, 15 years. And with the new generation that's come up in the age of social media, that's the only landscape that they know. That's where most of the bullying actually is occurring, is online. And when it occurs online, it occurs outside of the view of parents and outside the view of teachers. Now, parents, I have a question for you. What happens when something happens outside the view of a teacher and you? Let's compare it to something. If you're a parent and something happens to your student in the school, will you be notified most likely? Yes, you will be notified if something negative happens to your student in the school system by a teacher, by a principal. You will likely be told. Will that same thing happen? Will you be told if that type of bullying occurs online, away from a teacher's view, away from a principal's view? Will you be told then? Probably not. Will your student, will your child want to tell you? Probably not. No one has to raise their hand. No one has to admit this. But I must say it's a pretty safe assumption that a good chunk of the students in this room who have experienced bullying, that half, I'm going to say a good chunk of these students have probably never told their parents about it. I'm going to say there's probably a good chunk of students in this very room right now who have experienced severe online bullying and has never told their parents. My question to you as parents tonight, have you asked your child, to be honest with you, have you experienced this? Have you experienced this, and can I help? That's a question that they probably very rarely hear, and it would be a very welcome question to them as well. Again, if you said yes to any of these, you may be being bullied. So if you're being bullied, first and foremost, it's a pretty obvious thing. Tell the bully to stop and be kind, okay? That's, your Mr. Rogers style. Just be kind. Please stop it. Leave me alone, That's going to be your common sense go-to number one. Now, next thing to do, report it to a teacher, parent, or trusted adult. If you report it to a teacher, parent, or trusted adult, that helps you avoid any further escalation of the incident so that you yourself are not taken into your own hands as a student, as a child, the situation, and you can allow somebody with a position of power to take care of it for you. Therefore, you're avoiding the possibility of you getting into a physical altercation with that person. And if you get into a physical altercation with that person, then you're going to be held liable. And again, stay calm. Do not fight back in any harmful ways. If somebody bullies you, that does not give you permission to put fingers on them, does not give permission to put hands on them. They should not be touched. If somebody hits you in the school system in the United States, no matter what we've learned at home, no matter what our values are, as far as you want to avoid, if you want to avoid getting in trouble yourself, you will not fight back. Physically, that is. Unless you are in life danger. If you're in life danger, that's different. But if somebody simply pulls your hair, pulls your hijab, slaps you, whatever, that's terrible, and that should be taken care of, but that is not permission to go and harm them as well, unless they are physically harming you to a degree where you are in fear of danger to your physical health to an extreme degree, okay? Now, key thing here, especially when it comes to online bullying, Snapchat's one of these apps, Instagram's one of these apps, stories, you post on them, they're gone in 24 hours. You send them to somebody, they're gone within the second they open it. If you experience bullying, your first thing on social media presence, you should be screenshotting everything. Everything. If it's not screenshot it didn't happen. If you don't have evidence of it, it didn't happen. Okay? Make that assumption. Keep that evidence. Now, if you're a bystander, if you see bullying, speak up if it's safe. Don't be part of the audience. Just like, you ever heard of the term rubbernecking? Everyone here heard that American term? Rubbernecking basically being that when you see a car crash on the side of the road and everybody slows down to go watch that car crash and see exactly what happened because you're just a little curious, do not be that person. If someone's being bullied, you do not slow down your car and take a look at them. You simply see the incident, turn around, report it immediately. No hesitation. If you have the power to stop the bullying, if you say, hey, I can use my word to stop the bullying, then do it. If you have the power to physically take somebody, take them and pull them off of somebody else, do it. But do not be a part of the audience, okay? One quick question right there. we will talk about that, inshallah, we will. And if we don't talk to it to a degree that you feel is warranted, then we will discuss it further if you want to follow up question with me, inshallah, okay? So, we will get to that, inshallah, okay? So, key thing here is, as a bystander, especially if you see a situation where someone's being bullied to such an extent where they're being physically harmed, like physically hands on face, hands on hijab, whatever, you need to, if you can, and you feel safe to do so, pull that bully off of them. If that person's harming that person, you have a moral, and I would even say an Islamic duty to protect the people who are being oppressed, protect the person being harmed, if you have the ability to do so. Of course, tell a trusted adult, and again, that key thing, save evidence if it happens online. You need to save that evidence. So, what are your rights as a Muslim student? Again, we are a civil rights organization, so what does this mean about CARE? Why is CARE involved in this? Well, again, what are your rights as a Muslim student? You have the right to, before we go into this, your students, your teachers, your administration of your school, they may try to take away these rights. This is a time where you need to take your parents involved, because there are too many school districts, maybe not so much Wake County, but a lot of school districts I see in the state of North Carolina, especially in your more rural areas, that do not respect these rights. And you do have a governmental right to these things, okay? If somebody tells you you don't have that, you tell them no. Al from CARE told you, and CARE can contact him back, and we'll take care of it, okay? You have the right to wear religious clothing. That means a kufi, a hijab, what have you. If you want to practice your religion in the form of your clothing, you have that right in the school. Doesn't matter. They cannot tell you to take off the hijab. They cannot tell you to take off your kufi. Doesn't matter if there's a no hats rule in the school. If it's your deen, you wear the kufi. If you want to wear the kufi, you wear the kufi. If you want to wear the hijab, wear the hijab. They cannot tell you not to wear it. Now, you have the right to explain your faith and share literature without disruption. Has anyone here seen Young Life at schools? Is anyone here in high school that has seen the organization called Young Life? Anyone knows what that is? Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know, Young Life is a Protestant Christian organization that has college-age students go to high schools, and sometimes middle schools too, high schools, and stand outside the school, like within the parking lot, and sometimes even in the school, after school programs, and they do their version of dawah to kids. If they can do that, we can pass out our literature to students as well, as long as we're not being disruptive. So if somebody tells you, hey, I don't want you passing out, clear Qurans to fellow students in school. I don't want you passing out this pamphlet that says, Jesus, Islam, and Islam. I don't want you passing those pamphlets. They cannot tell you not to do that, as long as you're not being disruptive. You can't do it in the middle class. You can't be bugging people about it, but you have the right to do dawah. Somebody tells you can't, as long as you're following the not disruptive rule, you have every right to do dawah. Now, pray on campus. There are too many people that have contacted CARE that have told me, Al, I can't pray Jummah. I have to be at school. And I tell them, look, you can and you will, inshallah, okay? Being at school is not an excuse. There is no school in the United States of America that can legally tell you you do not have the right to go pray Jummah. There is no school. If you are being told that you cannot leave school to go pray Jummah, that is illegal. Illegal. They cannot do that to you. If they say they can do that to you, they're lying or they don't know better, and you need to inform them of that. If you want to go pray Dhuhr, go pray Dhuhr. If you have the time during your lunch break to pray Dhuhr, to pray Asr, to pray Dhuhr, to pray Fajr if you get to school really early, then do it. They can't stop you. As long as you're not disrupting other students, they cannot and they should not and they will not stop you. And if they do try to stop you, contact me. I'll take care of it. Okay? Now, again, with the Friday prayer with Jummah, there's a specific term called release time, and that basically means that you're allowed to go to Jummah, but only in the confines of release time. So you can be released early with a note. They can require you to have a note. That's fine. But you still have the right to do it, okay? Okay, you also have the right to have days off for religious holidays. Who here is old enough to remember when Wake County did not have Eid off? Okay, so that was illegal. So that shouldn't have happened. You have the right to have Eid off. You have every right. Oh, Al, but like Wake County told me that, or Mecklenburg County or Cabarrus County or wherever told me that I cannot have Eid off because I can't tell them for sure which day Eid's going to be on. Well, too bad. They have to deal with it. They have to deal with it because you have the legal right to take off religious rights. You have the legal right to take off for a religious holiday. And if you don't know exactly what day it's going to be because of the lunar calendar, then so be it. Take off that day. They cannot falter you. Oh, I have a test that day. Too bad. It's my religious holiday. It's my legal right. Too bad. Oh, but, we have the EOGs. Too bad. I don't want to fast that day because, this is the other thing. I feel like I shouldn't be able to fast that day because we have a big test that day, so I shouldn't fast. Too bad. You still got to fast. It's still Ramadan, So, it's your legal right. Use it. You don't use it, you lose it. Okay? So, you have the right to form a Muslim student group. That means MSAs. That means Palestine protest groups. Whatever. If you want to form an MSA at your high school, your middle school, whatever, do the due diligence, do the actual work, but you can do it. No one can tell you no. We've had people come up to us and say, my teacher, my principal won't let us do that. Well, too bad. They're wrong. You can. Okay? And also, as long as you're not being disruptive, you can speak about politics as much as you want. As much as you want. As long as you're not being disruptive. Disruptive to class time, disruptive to other students, speaking bad about other students. As long as you're not doing any of those things, you can speak about Palestine as much as you possibly want. And if somebody tries to tell you to stop you, they're wrong. Contact me. Again, I'll take care of it. Okay? So, how can students advocate? Write down what happened, time, place, and who. That is really key. If you don't have video evidence or screenshots, I need to know the when, why, where, how, who, what, everything. So it needs to be a time, it needs to be a date, it needs to be a place, it needs to be the who. Okay? That's how I can document best to help you the best I can. Save that evidence. Make a plan with your parents if you need to in terms of how you can advocate in terms of if someone bullies you and what to do in the situation. Share your plan with trusted adults at school if something happens to you, of course. And then stay calm and confident. And again, key thing, if you feel unsafe, you need to walk away. If you feel unsafe, you need to walk away. And the answer to the sister's question from earlier, so yes, talking to a teacher, talking to a parent, talking to a principal, whatever, may be a very daunting thing. And it may very well cause the bully to retaliate to you. But within the system that we live in, there is no other way. And the only way to guarantee that a bully will stop bullying you is if a bully gets in trouble for bullying. If you don't hold them accountable, do you know what's going to happen to that bully when they grow up? They're going to be a bully when they grow up. They're going to bully their classmates in college. They're going to bully their coworkers. They're going to bully their neighbors. And they're going to keep doing it because no one held them accountable. No one checked them. No one told them no. Be the no. Tell them no. Report it. Okay. How parents can help. Talk with your child often about school. I'm sure everybody here does, but if you don't talk to your parent about school, please do. Ask about their friends and listen closely. I know we have a lot of distractions this day and age. Our phones are, always up in our face 6-7 hours a day, but you need to listen to your student, you need to listen to your kid, hear about their day, take an interest in what's going on, and really be active listening. If they share bullying, here's the key thing. Gather details, again, who, why, when, where, how, all the details about that. Write it down. Ask the school for its specific bullying policy. Most schools have it written down specifically, a little different than others. That may be good key in terms of legal stuff you meet down the road. And then meet with the school and follow up in writing. The parent should always, if you're told by your student, by your child, that I'm being bullied, you should always have a paper trail with the school. The school, we have seen in North Carolina, we have seen in the state of North Carolina, people who have bullied Muslim students in Greensboro, in Charlotte. Alhamdulillah, I have no cases in Raleigh, this specific case, but I've seen in Greensboro and Charlotte where a school will say, yeah, they were bullied, but we don't really have the documents to prove it, so can't really do much for you. They'll purposely protect Islamophobic, racist bullies because they themselves are Islamophobic and racist. Okay? If you don't have an email chain with the school, it's like it never happened. It's a he said, she said. Have that email chain. And of course, key thing is remind your child it is not their fault. If you are being bullied for being Muslim, you cannot change that. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. But you cannot think that it's your fault at all, because it's not. It's not. It's the fault of the racist. It's the fault of the Islamophobe. It's not your fault. Okay, when schools don't help, this is the key thing here. You need to report bullying to the school district. If the school district doesn't even respond, and even if the school district responds, if it gets to a point where you're having to report to the school district as a parent that your child's being bullied because the teachers and the principal at your school will not take care of it, contact CARE, because that's the time we get involved, and that could be a lawsuit. That could be a very good lawsuit. If a teacher or administrator themselves are the active bulliers, go higher in the chain of command and contact CARE. And of course, we can share the Educator's Guide to Islamic Practices with the school, which can be provided if you request from us. We can share that with the school administrators if that you think will help. And of course, contact CARE if nothing changes. When bullying becomes harassment, that's that further line when parents should really contact CARE. So that can include threats of harm or physical violence. If somebody is saying, I'm going to attack your child, I'm going to hurt your child, contact CARE. Hate speech about religion, race, or identity. You know, those Muslims are so this, they're so that. That's in writing. You can prove that was said. You need to contact CARE, especially if that was a school saying that. We've had teachers say derogatory things about Muslim students in the context of a history lesson. That can be a lawsuit. They can be fired for that, and they should be fired for that, and you should be the reason why they're fired. Continuous target harassment. So the bullying just will not stop. It's constant. It's going on nonstop. The school just won't do anything about it. Contact CARE. Cyberbullying that spreads harmful lies. They're saying just rumors about me, lying about me. Contact CARE. And most importantly, if it's getting to the point where the bullying is interfering with your child's right to an education, then that's a broken civil right. That's a broken civil right, and that's a CARE involvement. Okay, so how do you contact CARE? So report incident to CARE, your voice matters. CARE protects your rights when they are broken, and you can contact us three ways. Number one, if you are in Eastern NC, the Triangle here, or Greensboro, contact that number, 202-742-6421. This number is your lifeline. It is your protection. Contact that number. That's my number. Goes directly to my cell phone. I will assist every single possible way I can, inshallah. Okay? Now, if you're in Charlotte, Western North Carolina, the mountains, High Point, or Winston-Salem, contact 202-488-8787, and that reaches out to Sujana Islam. She's from this community, but she went to UNC Charlotte. She currently lives in Charlotte, and she's our assistant out in Charlotte if you ever need help out there. And of course, you can always report online at care.com/report, which can also be found by just Googling the words CARE and report. There you go. Okay. Well, while we have last couple people save those things, again, our resources include the Know Your Rights guides. We have some of the cards outside in the lobby if you need any, if you want that QR code that links to that report back there. And then, of course, care.com has more resources as well. And finally, we stand with you to stop bullying, protect each other, build schools that are safe, welcoming, and respectful to all. One story. And before we get into questions and answers, my boss, Tayyab, who's from Orlando, he's going to tell us one story for us, please, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Brother Al, for all the work that you do. And he means it when he says that is his cell phone, and he will take your phone call if you have experiencing bullying or even any discrimination. Let me tell you a story that happened, and it's a school bullying story. We shared it earlier. A teacher was a third grade teacher was calling a student Hamas and terrorist daily on the regular. And eventually this child, this is in a public school, this child went home and tells his parents. And his parents would do, any parent would do, like, what's going on here? Why is this teacher repeatedly calling my child a terrorist? And so they called the school. Guess what? The school did nothing. They went to the school did nothing. And eventually what happened is they called CARE. And CARE did exactly what Al is telling you right now in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this masjid, that CARE will take that on and not let go of it. Now, what happens next in the story? Are you wondering what happens next? Yes. So the first thing CARE does, and CARE has attorneys who reached out to the school. Hello, school. By the way, we heard there's a student, one of your classes, and a teacher was calling this child a terrorist. Did you know about this? Have you been informed? We would like this issue investigated. No response. CARE sends a demand letter signed by Civil Rights Department. Guess what? Now all of a sudden, the school board, the principal, the administrative office is taking it a bit more serious. Fast forward the story, a month later, the teacher resigns. Brothers and sisters, I remind myself and all of us of the time during the Prophet Muhammad's time. There was a moment when the Muslims were running from the Quraysh. They were weak and they couldn't say anything. But then there were times, like when Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, he went out and he said, I am a Muslim. And today we have, alhamdulillah, attorneys, and we have advocates who are full-time, like Brother Al. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the tawfiq, bless you. He's here in Raleigh. There should be no reason today in 2025 that any child here in North Carolina experiences bullying. That is prevented from praying salah, and that is prevented from going to Jummah. There should be no person working in a business that should be prevented from praying salah. There should be no woman that doesn't feel any discrimination walking around wearing hijab in 2025. And if that's happening, you better call CARE. Because CARE is publicly funded by the Muslim community. There are brothers and sisters that are donating to CARE so that the Muslim community has attorneys and advocates. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless all of them. So, Al, we did have a question in the back. That's outstanding, right? My sister asked a question. She said, how do I deal with retaliation? Did I hear you right? Yeah. So she's worried about retaliation. But brothers and sisters, please, Al is here, CARE is here in North Carolina, in Raleigh, and I want you to feel empowered. Because I was bullied, and I didn't have CARE in 1988. I didn't have CARE in 1988. And it makes me a little sad. You hear me get choked up? Yeah. Because CARE was founded in 94. I was already a little older. I won't age myself. I do have a 25-year-old son. Alhamdulillah. But you do. You do. And we do. And we're grateful for that. And so let's not let it happen to anybody anymore. Let's work together. Let's donate. Let's support. Let's advocate. Let's educate. Let's get out there and let's show some power. Let's show them who we are. And we're here for everybody, inshallah. Back over to you.
Okay, while we're taking questions and answers, the QR code on the screen is for you to scan, if you would be so kind. And that to scan will be to sign up for, not a newsletter is going to be blasted out to you. I promise you it won't. I promise you it won't. But it's to be contacted specifically regarding major action alerts that require community involvement. That means we need everybody to sign up for a petition. It means every single person to do this, call the representative, do that. If there's an emergency, we need community support. Okay, and that's how you can contact us. Okay, so please do sign up for that. Now we're taking questions and answers while it's going on. So yes, retaliation. So, key thing about retaliation. Like I said earlier, that's something that really can't be avoided per se, but it's a necessary hardship. It's a necessary hardship. And if retaliation occurs, that's when you go right back to the person of power, right back to a principal, right back to a teacher, right back to a parent. And if it's not resolved then that's when care gets involved. Because if it's continuous like that, every single time we go back to a parent or a teacher, to a principal, and they don't resolve it, that's when care gets involved. And if, just like Brother Tayyab said, if care gets involved, the school district is going to be so petrified, so terrified of getting a lawsuit on their front desk that they're going to do whatever you want. They're going to reprimand that student. They're going to move the student to a different class. They're going to do whatever they need to do. They're going to give respect to you from the hand that they can put down, from the legal hand, from the top down, from the organization. They have to, because it's your right to an education, your right to not be bullied. And you get that in everybody's head. You have a right. It's not, that'd be nice. It's not, you know, I want this. Oh, I can never have it. It is a right. As much as free speech is a right, as much as a freedom of religion is a right. If you are being bullied, they are trampling on your right to an education free of harm. Okay? That's what we're here for. We're here to protect that right. Okay? Hopefully I answered the best I could. Any other questions we have? Any questions? Yes. Is this a private or public university? Lawsuit. That is a care thing. So the brother's question was, if there's an MSA at a public university that has a Christian space dedicated for prayer, but not a Muslim space. Usually have interfaith rooms, usually what it is. Are you, so which university is it, if I mind asking? Could you describe the Christian space, what exactly it is? That is illegal. They cannot do that. So if there is a meditation room, so basically speaking, public universities oftentimes for diversity principles will put a meditation room, a yoga room, an interfaith room, anything above. You see them at airports, but you very much see them in hospitals too, but most commonly you see them at public universities. Okay, I went to UNC Greensboro myself. We have a meditation room on campus. Those meditation rooms are meant for everyone. It is illegal, it is not correct for a student organization to claim that space without any authority to do so and bar other students from using that space for their religious purposes. That is very wrong, and if that is what's happening, you need to contact CARE, okay? We will take care of that, inshallah. Yes? K through 12 public schools, to my knowledge, are not required to provide outright separate rooms for these situations like prayer. However, they are required to accommodate to the best of their ability in terms of a peaceful place or a time set aside for a student to pray, which means, and therefore, they cannot bar a student from praying, which means they cannot create an environment where there's no possible place or time for a student to pray, which logically speaking does not mean they necessarily have to create a meditation room, but they can just say you can pray in the teacher's classroom during lunchtime when everybody else is at lunch in the lunchroom. If that makes sense. Or you can pray at recess time, you know, what have you. The point is they will make what's called a reasonable accommodation. So as long as you interpret it as a reasonable accommodation and is not a hardship on the student, they have to say, you can pray at this time, you can pray at this place, but they do not have to say, we will go outright for you and build you an entire room for it, though. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I don't want to hold you here, but I am here for questions, what I'm here for. Yes? Who is labeling it as, who's labeling? Is it the school? Contact care. Contact care. Yeah. We've taken care of a lot of these cases recently, contact care. The brother's question was, if there is a situation in which the school says you cannot protest about Palestine, if you include the words Jew or Israel, you can do that as much as you want. That is an infringement on your right, okay? It is not anti-Semitic to use the word Israel in a protest if the government of Israel is what you're protesting for actions that they specifically did. That's not anti-Semitic, okay? So, no, the school should not be telling you that. They should not be telling you that. Okay. And yes. Mm-hmm. Correct. Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, exactly. And that's one of those things where it's like, it is difficult. It's difficult when you have to weigh the possibility of ostracization. However, I want to say, take that logical what if scenario even further. If you are ostracized and you are in that position, put in that position as a student, and you do re-report it and say, this is what's happening to me, social bullying is now occurring, that's going to be a moment where the school is going to protect you even further. They're going to say, all of XYZ students, you are doing something incorrect, we're going to hold you accountable. The key thing here is accountability. Accountability, accountability, accountability. If that takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times telling on people, eventually they're going to get the message and they're going to stop doing what they're doing. Eventually, inshallah. Okay, yes.
So a lot of schools have zero tolerance policies for fighting, but if you're physically bullied and you defend yourself, are you subject to those policies?
So it is, to my knowledge, most situations would go on a case-by-case basis if you feel that the situation that you're in is life or death, that you're going to be physically harmed to a great degree, okay? Obviously, there's that case in Charlotte that a lot of people here are probably aware of, where the sister defended herself. That is a great example of the case-by-case basis and situations of these things, because the school should have handled it much better than they did. They should have. They didn't. And she did have the right to defend herself because she was being physically harmed to a degree where she would be permanently damaged, So no, this is a situation where if you are being bullied and physically harmed in such a way where it's not just someone do a single slap at you, it's not somebody who's just pulling your hair, it's somebody who's actively fighting you and punching you and harming you to a point where you are going to end up in the hospital or worse, yes, I believe that there's a good time to defend yourself if that's your only option, yes. But if you have other options, you should seek them out first. Okay. Yes. No worries. Yes. I think it would be first identifying what those discomforts are stemming from, create a sense of place. A sense of place. Have a place on campus where you know at most hours of the day, if somebody's on campus, they're going to be at that spot hanging out. For me at UNCG, I mean, I'm sure anyone who's been college aged or has been in college or is in college knows there's that one place in the library where all the Muslims hang out. That is a thing. That was a thing when I was in college, and that's probably still a thing now. If that thing doesn't exist, you should create it for your community. Hey, that's our hangout table. That's our hangout spot, you know? That creates a sense of community, a sense of I know at any point in the day I can go there and feel safe and feel welcomed. That's the key thing. That and also creating a space in that meditation room for prayer. That'd be my two examples, my two suggestions for you. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Any other questions before we wrap up here? Yes. Mm-hmm. It depends. It depends. So, like, can you, as a firefighter, wear, let's say, I don't know, can you wear a very bulky hijab as a firefighter? Probably not. I mean, I was a firefighter briefly myself, and they wouldn't even let us have beards because of the mask and the way it fits on. So it's a common sense thing generally. If your job doesn't require you to have a certain dress code for a really good reason, then I would find it very hard for for them to make the defense that there is no possible reasonable accommodation. That's the key word there. Reasonable accommodation, okay? If you can make the argument that my choice of religious wear is not going to damage the brand, damage anything, whatever it may be, damage my ability to work, like if you're a nurse or a doctor and or a surgeon, you have to wear a certain outfit to do your job, and that outfit for whatever reason doesn't jest with the religious wear you're doing, that's different because it impacts the work of your job. But if it's anything else, then no. I mean, one of the very first care cases actually was defending, in the 90s I think it was defending a sister who had hijab, was working at, I think it was Aeropostale, American Eagle, something like that, like a long, long time ago, like way, way back. But she sued with care because they wouldn't let her wear hijab in the workplace because it went against their brand. Okay, so what? You know? It is wearing a hijab going to make me less good at working a cash register, you know? See, that doesn't make sense. That's not a reasonable accommodation would be to let her wear the hijab. So it's context is key. Context is key. If you're in a job, if you're in a career where you have to wear a certain outfit in order to do the function of the job, and that outfit doesn't allow you to wear XYZ else religious wear because it's too bulky or whatever possible reason, then that's different. But for 99% of jobs, yes, you can wear your religious wear. Yes. Okay. With that, yes, one last thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is there a reasonable accommodation, i.e., can there be a situation where if the purpose of her opening up her abaya is to do XYZ, can that XYZ thing be done in a private room with only women around? Those are the type of questions you have to ask. I would say in that situation, if you cannot find a reasonable accommodation to both meet your religious attire standards that you have for yourself, while at the same time maintaining the needs of the class, then the teacher needs to make an accommodation for you if you cannot find one. That being said, generally speaking, most teachers in that type of scenario will say just wear it over the abaya, you know, do whatever you need to do over the. If you say that's not, I can't do even that, then they need to make an exception to the rule, they make accommodation, because that then becomes in the territory of reasonable accommodation is that I physically can't do the thing that you're asking me to do, you know? So, again, case-by-case basis, you know? But the key thing is the key grounding point that all the common denominator is here, reasonable accommodation. Can I reasonably, logically do the thing in such a way where everyone gets what they want? That's the thing. And if I can, do that thing. If I can't, something else, you know? Okay. So if no more questions, we're going to wrap up here. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much again. If you need to contact me, that's my email if you need it. But of course, my number was there earlier too. So, Jazakallah khair. Thank you much for tonight. And we'll finish up there. Alhamdulillah.